Hey there, welcome back. So good to see you again. I really hope you're crushing it today, no matter where you're watching from around the world. All right, let's dive into what's happening with XRP right now. I've got the one-day chart pulled up here, and we're sitting pretty at $2.20. Now, XRP did have a nice little green day today, which is always good to see. But here's the thing. When I zoom out to the weekly view, we're still kind of stuck in this sideways pattern. And honestly, I'm getting a bit impatient here. I really want to see this thing start moving up more aggressively. We need a strong finish to November. That would be absolutely huge for momentum going into December. Oh, and check this out. Bitcoin just climbed back over that 90,000 level. But here's what's interesting. When you compare how Bitcoin's looking right now versus XRP, XRP is actually showing more promise at the moment. Look at this. XRP is actually sitting in the green right now, while Bitcoin's stuck in the red. And you know what? I think this is going to be the story for the rest of this bull run, unless Bitcoin suddenly gets some major catalyst that changes everything. What's really interesting is that we're seeing money continue to flow out of Bitcoin and into other assets. People are diversifying, and that's actually great news for coins like XRP. Now here's something that should get you excited. The Crypto Fear and Greed Index just hit 20. We've been stuck in extreme fear for 18 straight days, but we're finally starting to climb out of that hole. And let me tell you, when fear starts turning into greed, that's when things get really interesting. I totally get it though. I know so many of you are feeling frustrated right now. The market's been testing everyone's patience. We all want to see this thing just explode already and start making some real money, right? But here's what I'm thinking. By the time Christmas rolls around, I'm really hoping XRP looks completely different than it does today. We could be in for a totally different conversation in just a few weeks. All right, so I just saw this incredible update from Dark Defender, and it's got me pretty excited. Check this out. When you look at the XRP to Bitcoin pair, it shows that XRP has absolutely crushed it against Bitcoin over this past year. And the best part? It's just getting started. Get this. Last November when Bitcoin hit 92,000, XRP was sitting at just 60 cents. Now here we are with Bitcoin at that same 92,000 level. But XRP? It's at $2.22. That's absolutely insane growth, and it really shows you the power of what's happening here. Dark Defender is saying that XRP is going to continue dominating the entire crypto space. And honestly, I'm totally here for it. Like I mentioned earlier, this trend is far from over. But here's what I'm really waiting for, and I think this is going to be game-changing. I cannot wait until XRP finally breaks free from Bitcoin's influence completely. Imagine XRP running on its own momentum, making its own moves without being dragged down by Bitcoin's ups and downs. I genuinely believe that when that happens, we could be looking at the greatest return on investment any of us have ever witnessed in crypto. That's how bullish I am on this thing right now. Okay, this is huge. We need to talk about what just went down with XRP exchanges today because this is absolutely wild. So I'm looking at today's on-chain data, and we just witnessed one of the biggest coordinated drops across every major XRP exchange at the same time. I'm talking about a complete synchronized event here. Check this out. We saw massive outflows happening everywhere. I'm talking about Binance, Bitrue, Uphold, eToro, Bybit, Bitbank, basically every major exchange you can think of. And here's the crazy part. Nearly all of them saw their XRP balances drop by around 50%. Now what does this mean? Well, there are a few possibilities here, and they're all pretty interesting. We could be looking at large-scale user withdrawals, people pulling their XRP off exchanges. Maybe it's migration to self-custody, which would actually be really smart. Or this could be exchanges doing some major internal rebalancing, moving funds to cold storage for security. But honestly, this looks like a major on-chain reshuffle event. Something big is happening behind the scenes, and when you see this kind of coordinated movement across all the major players, it usually means something significant is about to unfold. And look at these numbers for XRP. This is absolutely fascinating. So here's what we know for certain. XRP is literally vanishing from exchanges right before our eyes. And as this trend keeps going, we're heading straight towards something really exciting, scarcity. Now here's where it gets interesting. All we need is for these ETFs to burn through their over-the-counter XRP supply. And trust me, that's going to happen eventually. When they do run out and have to start buying directly from the exchanges, That's going to be an absolute game changer for all of us holding XRP. I'm talking about a major supply shock here. When institutional money has to compete with retail investors for the same limited supply on exchanges, we're going to see price movements that will make your head spin. And I mean fast, like blink and you miss it kind of price changes. This is exactly the kind of setup that creates those life-changing moments in crypto. The supply is drying up, institutional demand is building, and we're sitting here watching it all unfold in real time. It's actually pretty incredible when you think about it. So, I just came across this article about some expert saying why ETFs alone can't push XRP to $10 or even $100. And honestly, I think they're completely missing the point here. Their whole argument is based on market cap calculations and all that traditional stuff. But here's the thing. I don't buy into market cap limitations when we're talking about crypto. That's old school thinking that doesn't apply to this space. What I believe in? Real utility and actual supply and demand dynamics. And that's where XRP is absolutely crushing it right now. Look, people keep saying that Bitcoin needs to hit $1 million before XRP can reach $100. But I think that's completely wrong. They're totally overlooking what's about to happen. We're literally heading into a perfect storm of scarcity and massive demand hitting at exactly the same time. And you know what really gets me? These articles always seem to have the same agenda. They want you to believe that XRP will never, ever break above $10. It's like they're trying to keep expectations low on purpose. But when you look at what's actually happening with utility, adoption, and the supply situation we just talked about, I think we're in for some major surprises that are going to prove these experts completely wrong. They keep pushing this narrative that XRP will never break $5, and they base it all on previous cycles and market cap theories. But here's what they're not telling you. This cycle is completely different from anything we've seen before. We're literally standing at the edge of something massive, institutional adoption of utility-driven cryptocurrencies. And this changes everything. Now think about this for a second. These institutions aren't your average retail investors throwing money at the latest hype coin. These are serious players with serious money, and they have to answer to boards of directors and shareholders. When these institutions underperform, trust me, heads roll and money gets moved around fast. They can't afford to mess around with speculation and empty promises. But here's where it gets really interesting. When these institutional players find something with real, tangible value, something that actually solves real-world problems, that's when they don't just invest, they go absolutely all in. And that's exactly what XRP represents. It's not just another crypto token riding on hype. It's solving actual problems in the financial world right now. So when institutional money starts flowing in, it's not going to be a small allocation. It's going to be massive, strategic investments that completely change the game. All right, so I just got this update from Kenny, and this number is going to blow your mind. Are you ready for this? As of late November 2025, we've seen approximately 14.2 million XRP permanently burned on the XRP ledger. Let me say that again. 14.2 million XRP completely removed from circulation forever. Now, this might not sound like a huge number when you think about XRP's total supply, but here's why this is actually massive. This is just another piece of the puzzle that's setting us up for that supply shock we keep talking about. Think about it. We've got XRP disappearing from exchanges, we've got millions of tokens being burned, and we've got institutional demand building up. It's like watching all these forces come together at exactly the right time. This burn mechanism is working quietly in the background, constantly reducing the available supply, and most people don't even realize it's happening. But when you combine this with everything else we've been discussing, it's just adding more fuel to what's going to be an absolutely explosive situation. Now, I want to be completely honest with you. I've never counted on XRP burns to drive the price to those crazy high levels we're all hoping for. But here's the thing. We still need to factor this into the bigger picture. Just imagine what happens when transaction volume on the XRP ledger really starts exploding. More transactions means more XRP gets burned automatically. That's just how the system works, and it's happening organically. But let me address something I see people asking about all the time. What if Ripple just decided to burn half their escrow? Here's the reality. it probably wouldn't move the price much at all. We've actually seen this play out before with Stellar and XLM, and it didn't create the massive price pump everyone expected. That's exactly why I've always said Ripple will never burn that escrow. It just doesn't make strategic sense, especially right now when we're seeing companies actually building XRP treasuries. They need that supply for real-world utility. But here's what is happening that's way more powerful. We've got burns happening naturally from increasing transactions, and at the same time, ETF inflows are absolutely devouring the available supply. That's the real 1-2 punch that's going to create the scarcity we're looking for. Okay, this is huge news that just dropped. 21 Shares just confirmed that their US spot XRP ETF has been approved by the SEC. And get this, it's launching tomorrow, Monday. This is absolutely massive because we're about to see even more XRP getting gobbled up by institutional money. And here's where it gets really interesting. A lot of people in the space are actually betting that 21 Shares is going to completely outperform Franklin Templeton. Now, I don't know about you, but when you've got multiple ETFs competing for the same limited XRP supply, that's when things get really spicy. We're talking about serious institutional competition here, and that usually means one thing. Prices start moving fast. It's going to be fascinating to watch how this plays out. Will 21 Shares really come out swinging harder than Franklin Templeton? Are we about to see a race between these ETF providers to accumulate as much XRP as possible? Tomorrow's launch is going to tell us a lot about where this market is headed. I'm definitely keeping my eyes glued to the charts to see how the market reacts to this news.
All right, let me break down this flywheel effect that everyone's buzzing about right now, because this is absolutely mind-blowing when you see how it all connects. So picture this cycle. First, ETFs start buying up all the liquid XRP supply, which automatically drives the price up. Pretty straightforward, right? But then here's where it gets crazy. As the price climbs higher, companies like MicroStrategy and other corporates start panicking because they don't want to miss the boat, so they start buying even more aggressively. Now we've got even less supply available, which makes the price shoot up even faster. Then the media catches wind of what's happening and the hype machine kicks into overdrive. More ETFs get approved, and suddenly everyone's talking about XRP strategic reserves. And here's the grand finale. Imagine if we get an official strategic reserve announcement. That would be the final explosion, just like what we saw with Bitcoin in 2021 after Tesla and MicroStrategy made their moves. Could we see this exact same pattern play out with XRP? I honestly think there's a really strong chance of that happening. Right now, it feels like we're in that eerie calm before the storm hits. And it's all going to start with XRP getting locked away everywhere you look. You know what's wild? Talk to anyone about XRP these days, and the first word out of their mouth is scarcity. We've literally never seen that before with XRP. This is completely new territory for the 2025 run. So I just saw this from Reese Merrick, and he's basically saying exactly what I've been telling you guys this whole time. Remember when stablecoins first came out? They were basically just this simple on-ramp to buy crypto. That was pretty much it. But fast forward to 2025, and while yeah, people are still using them for that, something much bigger is happening. Stablecoins are now being used for actual real-world payments, and we're seeing absolutely massive demand at Ripple because of this. Check out these insane growth numbers over the last 5 years. This is going to blow your mind. In 2020, we had $0.5 trillion in on-chain stablecoin transfers. By 2021, that jumped to $2.5 trillion. Then 2022 hit $5 trillion. 2023 reached $10 trillion. And 2024? We're talking $27.6 trillion. And here's the kicker. For 2025, we're on track to hit $46 trillion year to date. That's absolutely insane growth. Now here's why this matters so much. I've always said that stablecoins are basically the door openers for crypto. Think about it. You get banks and traditional institutions comfortable using stablecoins first, right? They get used to the technology, they see how it works. And then, boom, you introduce the secret sauce. You tell them, hey, stablecoins are great, but if you really want to see what this technology can do, try using actual cryptocurrency for payments. It's even faster and way cheaper than stablecoins. It's like stablecoins were the appetizer, and now we're ready for the main course.
That's exactly how I've always seen this playing out. So I just saw this comment from Crypto Reviewing that really hit home. They said, an alt season is needed. If not, many investors will never come back to crypto again. Do you agree? And honestly, I completely agree with that statement. I think so many people are absolutely frustrated right now, and everyone's just sitting there waiting for alt season to finally kick off. But here's the thing. Once it does begin, it's going to completely change how people look at crypto again. All of a sudden, people are going to start making serious money in this space. And when that happens, everyone's going to be watching. Nobody's going to want to miss out on those kinds of gains. That's when the real FOMO kicks in. But here's what's different this time around. It's not just going to be retail investors scrambling to get in. We're going to see institutional FOMO too. And that's when things get absolutely wild. Look, alt season is absolutely coming. I have zero doubt about that. And as XRP holders, we're going to be right there witnessing it all unfold. As long as we don't get impatient and sell too early. The key is staying strong through this frustrating period we're in right now. Because when alt season hits, it's going to reward the people who had the patience to stick it out. And trust me, you don't want to be the person who sold right before everything exploded.
So I posted about my portfolio earlier today, and wow, the comments were all over the place. Some people completely disagreed with diversification, while others said it was the smartest move you could make. Here's the thing about diversification in crypto. I think it's absolutely key. So let me show you what my bag looks like right now. I've got 25% in XRP, and then I'm spread across XLM, XDC, QNT, Algo, IOTA, HBAR, Flare, and a bunch of others. A lot of people were asking, what's the ETSA? Well, I've got some Link, some Graph, a few other solid projects. I even found some meme coins from years ago that I totally forgot about. Funny story, I thought I had sold all my Link, but then I discovered some sitting in a wallet I completely forgot existed. Now, let me tell you why I diversified in the first place. When I first got into crypto, nobody knew what was going to happen next. Remember, the SEC versus Ripple case hadn't even started yet. I kept thinking, XRP isn't going to capture all the money in this space. So if I wanted to be positioned for whatever was going to move the most money, I figured I should invest in ISO cryptocurrencies. You know, utility-driven projects that solve real problems. Along the way, I found value in other areas too. I've got some AI cryptos because I could see where that was heading. My thinking was always, how can I build a well-rounded, utility-focused bag that's basically guaranteed to make money over time? I even sold 2 Bitcoin back in 2021 and put all that money into utility tokens. That's how confident I was in this strategy. After doing deep research on these projects, there was no way I couldn't hold IOTA. And Flare? It's just emerging now as this massive monster that I think is going to be huge in the near future. QNT, I wish I had bought earlier, but at least I kept adding along the way. Here's how I see each of these. XDC is going to handle all that digital trade finance money, still super undervalued. XLM is perfect for person-to-person payments. XRP dominates bank-to-bank transfers. IOTA is positioned for Industry 4.0 and smart cities. Each one has its lane. Now, some people said I would never diversify, go all in on XRP. And look, I get that mentality. But when you're already diversified, you're not going to start moving crypto around and selling things just to buy more XRP. That's just asking for trouble. Here's my philosophy. Some of these cryptos might not hit the price targets I want in this particular run, but if I hold them long enough, I believe every single one of them has the potential to be a financial freedom cryptocurrency. And that's a bet I'm willing to make. That's exactly how I see it playing out. But like I mentioned at the start of this video, we're sitting at $2.20 right now, and honestly, I really want to see how we finish November. A decent move up to close out the month would be absolutely perfect. Everyone's already got their eyes on December, and I keep seeing all these predictions that it's going to be the biggest month we've ever witnessed in crypto. But here's the thing. People said the exact same thing about September, October, and November. And what have we gotten? Delay after delay after delay. It's like every time the market starts looking amazing, something comes along and just crushes the momentum.
I'm convinced there's some serious market manipulation happening with Bitcoin right now. But you know what I think is really going on with Bitcoin? The OG holders are finally cashing out and taking profits, while institutions are swooping in to buy up all that Bitcoin. And there are enough institutions with deep pockets to keep pushing it higher. But here's what's interesting. I think a lot of these same institutions are starting to look beyond Bitcoin now. We'll see what happens from here, but I'm really hoping we start seeing that XRP scarcity kick in soon. That could be the catalyst that gets everything moving. Maybe XRP ends up being the one leading us into alt season. Wouldn't that be something? But until that happens, we've got to stay patient and stay positive. We're all in this together, and we're going to get rich together. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up today's video. Thank you so much for watching and for being such an amazing community. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I'll catch you in the next one. Have an awesome night.